They moved in and out of the motel. They seemed to mingle with quite a number of young girls who were on the sidewalk. These were, for the most part, primarily Minneapolis girls. At midnight, we called the curfew. We told the kids that they were in violation of it, those under 18 years of age, and they would have to move on. It came to our attention at that time from a couple of the girls on the sidewalk that they had friends who they were waiting for that were within the motel. We then felt, of course, that the only place they would be is on the 5th floor of the motel where the Beatles were housed. We went to the 5th floor, and we completely shook down the 5th floor, doing this with the aid of pass keys, knocking on doors, and telling people that the curfew was now enforced and that they would have to have guests leave the hotel.
What was their reaction to this enforcement?
Some of the members of the troop, Phil, became very indignant. They told us that Minneapolis was a very narrow-minded town, as were its police officials, and that other cities had been very tolerant to the parties that they had held in their rooms. Some persons' likes are my dislikes. As far as Beatle music, I could care about it not one bit myself personally. However, this does not mean that it is not popular music. As far as the Beatles' entourage, or the group of hangers-on and people who make their living off them are concerned, those that were around the hotel I have no use for, nor do I care if they ever return to Minneapolis, which they have threatened not to do.
What would you elaborate on this? Who threatened not to come to Minneapolis again?
One of their group with a British accent told me that they would never come back to Minneapolis, and I remarked to him that if they did not come, it would be too soon for me.
Was this because of the enforcement?
I believe so, Phil. They were very irate about that, and they could not understand why our bars closed at 1 o'clock, nor could they understand many other things.
As far as Paul McCartney is concerned, did you have any personal problem with him?
No, sir, we did not. I did not speak to Mr. McCartney. I felt that he had a business manager here, and I felt it was his place to keep his product in tow.
Are you a Beatle fan?
No, sir, I hear the music around my house, but I'm not a Beatle fan.
Do you expect any calls as a result of this?
Yes, sir, I do expect quite a few calls, Phil. It just seems that every time that we do take an enforcement action, we do get some calls.
Inspector, would you relate some of your unhappy experiences this past weekend with the Beatle group?
Well, Phil, they were unhappy incidents due to the fact that when we have a group in town, we try to afford our people an opportunity to see them. We hope that no incidents arise, but in this case, some did. Number one, of course, we were very happy in that upon the arrival of the troop, we were rather concerned with security at the Leamington Motor Inn, but we accomplished getting them into the motel and up to their floor with no incidents arising. We had no trouble, Phil, with 3 of the Beatles because they had, upon returning from the show at Met Stadium, had gone to the hotel, had had a lunch, and had gone right to bed. We did have trouble, however, with the report of a girl in one of their rooms, that of Paul McCartney. We did, however, get the manager of the Beatle troupe to announce himself at Mr. McCartney's room and tell him that the girl would have to leave the room or we would have to force entry into the room. We told all members of the troop who were causing us a problem that they were in violation of a city ordinance, that of false hotel registration, where only the person registered in the room may reside there. We felt, Phil, very frankly, that this is a typical traveling troupe, much like you have with a circus, and that they are here today and they are gone tomorrow. We are accountable, of course, to all the citizens of Minneapolis, and we feel for the welfare and safety of their kids, even though they may be a little hysterical and they may go a little overboard for this type of thing. We know where our responsibility lies. We did remove several girls from the hotel. We removed a couple of them from a room that had been reserved for a dining room, and they were in bed in this room. Most of the kids were not too indignant upon being removed because they had accomplished their purpose in getting into the hotel.
As I understand, you feel that these kids did not have any idea of proper behavior.
The Beatles? I don't believe so, or I don't think they would tolerate this thing going on within the